right. Welcome to episode number 3 of Forging the Fire. This show was specifically designed to hear from people who have achieved a level of success and share their life and success stories, because life and success are not just linear journeys. And our guests will be sharing their journey of how they've walked through fire to be forged into their best selves. The same way a blacksmith forges a lump of steel into a sword. So I've got my buddy Rich Wonders on here today. Pretty excited to dive into his story. We've connected over the last year, and we have a great relationship. But I want to dive even farther below the surface so I can learn more about you, learn some of the things that you've been through, kind of learn some lessons of what you've done and how you've overcome some challenges in your life. And so Rich is a player here in the Phoenix market. He's worked with some pretty big name operators in the industry like Sean Terry, and now he's out on his own doing his thing, and he's killing it. So Rich, thank you for coming on to the show today. Really excited to dive into this.
Awesome, brother. Yeah, thanks for having me out, man.
Absolutely. So I kind of gave a little intro on it, but you are known as the Novation King on Instagram. Kind of start out by telling them a little bit about, the background of how everything started with this.
Sure. So novations are when you get a wholesale deal, you get extra paperwork, and you can sell them on the MLS to retail buyers and also the cash buyers.
Sure.
So I learned how to do this paperwork wise probably about a year and a half ago.
Okay.
That's when I was working with Corey Geary in Tempe, Arizona. So I worked with him about 8-9 months. He had picked it up through one of his contacts, and I kind of developed my own sales process around it. And I've been doing them ever since and teaching it. And that's how I got started on the Novation part. And how I got started wholesale, that's another tale, which I'm sure we'll dive into here shortly.
Yeah. So I want to dive into that. Like, how did you find real estate? Because, with real estate, I feel like it's got a lot of people with very unique stories, where, I find that the more people I talk to, the more I learn that it's not like their families were in it and they just jumped into it. It's like they went through some hardships to find some things and find out what they really wanted to do. And then they found real estate and just loved it.
Absolutely, man. So I think real estate naturally will attract to people that are very ambitious and entrepreneurial minded and sales minded, just because it's a high ticket item and it's something that everybody deals with. We all live in a piece of real estate.
Mm-hmm.
So, I love real estate. It's completely changed my life, my family's life. I have met some amazing people in this business as well. The reason that I got into wholesaling, I found out about it, was actually from seeing one of my childhood friends' Facebook pages. Been about maybe 4.5 years ago now, and I saw he was traveling. So he went to like Argentina, and then he went to he was going on all these exotic vacations. And in my mind, I thought he was a realtor because that was the last thing I had heard from him. So I hit him up. His name's J.R. Piper. Great dude. He's a landlord flipper. He's gone, he's doing really big things. But I hit him up, back when I was getting started, and asked him, hey man, how's this realtor thing working out? It looks like, you're, you're doing some great traveling, right? He told me, oh man, I'm actually not I'm not practicing as a realtor anymore. I'm wholesaling. So, and he kind of gave me a brief overview of what that was. And then, I was doing sales in a job that, I'd done for 9 years, and I'd maxed out that opportunity. And I knew I wanted to pivot in something else.
Sure.
So I went down the rabbit hole of YouTube University, researching wholesaling. And when I was in between my other sales appointments, that's all my time was podcasts, sales videos, just diving in and trying to learn as much as I could, because I had a baby on the way. I was the main breadwinner in the house, and I knew if I jumped from one ship to the other, I couldn't fall in the water. I was running on a small margin of error. I didn't have I was making what I thought was decent money, But basically, I was essentially living check to check. I didn't have a whole lot of savings. Like when I was in my sales job, it was very rare for me to have like $10,000 or more, like in the bank.
Yep.
I'd make 1,000, sometimes $2,000 a week, but it came in and it went out. You know what I mean? Like a lot of salespeople.
Yep.
Um, so that's how I first like learned about wholesaling and how everything kind of started.
Okay. So you're in Arizona now. Did you grow up there, or where did you grow up?
Yeah, so I lived in Phoenix almost my whole life. I lived in Memphis, Tennessee for like a year and a half.
Okay.
But yeah, born in Phoenix, raised, went to high school at Horizon High School, but I only actually did a year and a half of high school.
Okay. Did you drop out, or what happened there?
So interesting story here. Um, I'll give you kind of the shorter version, right?
Sure.
Um, Basically, when I was a sophomore in high school, I had already been running and gunning, getting into trouble, partying, not really listening to my mom, doing what I want, like acting like I was already, an adult and a pretty irresponsible adult. And one morning, I woke up early, and there was two men sitting in my bedroom, very large men, or one of them was standing and one of them was kneeling next to me,
Oh,
right? And I look over, and he said, "Hey, we were hired by your mother. You're about to get on a plane right now. We're taking you, and we can do this the easy way or the hard way." And I was like, just like shocked out of my sleep. I'd been smoking weed the day before. I was still like groggy, like what the, you know what I mean? I was like, what? They're like, we were hired by your mother. You're about to get on a plane. We're gonna get you some help. And basically, I got dressed. I didn't really resist. Like I thought about it, but I was like, look, this is like basically they set it up well, right? Where it was very easy for me to comply. It looked like I didn't really have any options. Like I lived on, like there was basically only one way out of my room and they were blocking it off. And so yeah, I ended up getting sent over to Memphis, Tennessee to a place that was a for like basically kids that were on drugs or getting in trouble. It was like a hardcore inpatient rehab
boarding school.
facility slash religious slash reprogram your mind. It was pretty intense. But I was there for like a year and a half.
No kidding. Dang. What was that like?
Bro. Um, it was it was eye opening. I'll put it that way. That's the best way I can describe it. So very challenging. But it was in my mom's defense and in the rehab's defense. Even though like some of the things like I'll put it this way: the rehab's now been shut down, and a lot of the people that went there are not doing well. Um, Basically, it was very intense. So what it was called Second Chance. It's in Memphis, Tennessee. If anyone ever wants to look it up, it's inpatient, and what they do is when you get there, they pair you up with someone that has already been, further down the program, and you go live with them, like with their parents in their house, right? So some other kid that was in trouble, and once they made it through the program long enough, then they're like basically like a sponsor. I forget what they called it. They called it an old comer. So you were a newcomer, and they were the old comers. Sleep in their room. They'd lock the door, put alarm on the door. If you wanted to go anywhere, they had to hold you by your belt loop. They called it the hand of friendship. I'm not making this up. I swear. There's other
What?
kids probably that'll eventually see this that like went through this, right? But the hand of friendship, they go with you in the bathroom, like everywhere, right? And when you're in the actual facility, so like they take you to the facility in the morning, you sleep at that person's house at night, take you
Sure.
to in the morning, they hold you on the hand of friendship if you're a newcomer throughout the whole day. Like it's wild, bro. But yeah, it was put it this way. It's like out of like a dystopian movie, kind of like the level of control and the level of rules that there were. Like it was is probably why like I'm all blasted with tattoos now and like do whatever the hell I want. Like it's probably like look, I can say like it's a blessing from God that I went through that because I knew what it was like to lose all sense of your of freedom. Like I literally, my only freedom there was like my thoughts internally. Everything else was controlled 24 hours a day. So that was a good experience. And to my mom's defense and everything too, I was bad and I was on a bad path. Like when she sent me there, even though like, someone could argue that, whatever, like it was obviously a very trying situation, but I wouldn't change anything because that also built me into who I am today. And I learned so much there about like mental attitude and also too, like seeing like drugs, how destructive they can be, you know what I mean? And how it really is a dangerous game to play. And I've just been fortunate that I've kind of come out somewhat unscathed without any major problems. But there's a lot of people that weren't that fortunate, that were on the same path as me, where they met some sort of major consequence. And I'm glad, that, basically God protected me, and I tried not to do any harm or anything like that. You know what I mean? So there's always, even people that are into bad things, there are people that are still have a code of ethics and, operate in a certain way. But
Right.
yeah, that world is definitely not a good world and not the world that I live in now. So
Yeah. Yeah, I had a little experience with some inpatient rehab myself. My mom couldn't handle that I was smoking weed in high school, and I was into all kinds of just I was, selling drugs, and she was just like, "What are you doing?" She thought I was going to end up like dead one day. She didn't think I was going to make it till 23, and I'm 27. I actually outlived her, so I think I did okay. And fortunately, I was very well protected by God too, even though I wasn't like religious at all or like had any faith when I was going through all that kind of stuff. I walked away from God for a long time, and mainly because I was pissed off that my dad wasn't around growing up. And I was like, how's there God if that's the case? But didn't really understand what I do now, where everything that you go through is actually for you, not happening to you. So
absolutely, that's the best way to look at it, because that's an honest statement.
mhm.
Everything is happening for you, because if you don't look that it's happening for you, then you're going to have a constant stream of bad things that are out of your control.
Yep. And it's a victim mentality that we fall into, which, I think it takes you kind of hitting a certain place where you understand. And then like you go through a bunch of personal development where you learn that I'm not a victim. Things are happening to me to, premise of this podcast, forge me into who I'm supposed to be. So, uh,
Absolutely. And
did
someone that's never been through adversity, you can tell. And you can also tell when there's just a different look in someone's eye. Like when they've really been tried and tested and introduced to themselves and like risen above, like
Mhm.
any great person, that's like a staple, is there's like some major adversity that they've overcome. That's what makes us admire them. That's what makes them great. Like people that have always had it easy, you know what I mean? Like people don't really look up to them.
Right. Yeah. And I know I grew up with a lot of those guys where they had it pretty easy growing up, and I think they're all doing the same shit, but I have no idea what they're doing. I just kind of lost touch with them.
It's tough too. Even people where it looks like they had it easy, right? Like say like their parents have money and stuff like that. Who knows? They're dealing with their own things. Like everybody has relationship problems. Like I knew kids where their parents had tons of money, and like you would look from the outside looking in, and you think like, oh man, they've got this great life, but like behind the scenes, like there sometimes could be crazy stuff going on too that no one knows about. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, to that point, like we all go through our own shit. It's just some people don't look at it like that. They just look at it as like, my family's fucked up, and that's just how
Yeah,
it's gonna be. And
they carry it with them their whole lives, and it affects them in a negative way.
yeah, and it affects their future family too if they decide to create one. Um, so I mean, it sounds like we're both very grateful for the things that we went through to kind of make us into that. And be
Absolutely.
able to see that things are going to be different in the future. What would you, so you kind of touched on like some of it. I don't know if we got into all of it though, but like what was like the biggest challenge that you faced, growing up, or going through all that, and the lesson that you learned from it?
Hmm. The biggest challenge that I faced growing up. So I would say the loss of my dad was definitely like the biggest life-changing event like of my childhood. My dad died when I was 12,
Oh
and
my
him and I
God.
were very close. But like I had known that he was sick for like a long time. So it wasn't a shocking thing. Obviously we didn't know it was going to happen right then,
Mhm.
but the positive thing from that, and I actually just talked about this on another podcast too, but like I give my dad all the credit in the world because he was very intentional with how he parented me and the core values that he firmly believed in. He really pressed to instill that in me and see the value in that stuff. So he taught me from a very young age, like a lot of things that I think like other kids may not hear from their parents, just based on my discussions with other people.
Right.
But he was very big on finding a thing and getting really good at it and really dedicating yourself to it and seeking out the best in the field and learning from them, and also just outworking people. He had a very entrepreneurial mind. Like he bought soda for me when I was like, I think as young as like 5 6 years old. We go and buy some like store brand soda, and then he'd
Yep.
take me to all the construction sites where they were building houses, and I was the pop boy, and he let I go and sell the pop to all the construction workers, and he let me keep all the money. Like he bought the soda, he took me there, and he let me keep all the money. And that
Cool.
was like from a very young age, he taught me like, look, you can add value and earn money if you're willing to put in the work. Like there's not really any excuses.
Yep.
And after my dad was sick, like money was like very scarce. Like my mom had to go back to work. My dad was just getting like a small social security check. He was
Mhm.
living high on the hog for before he got sick, made a bunch of money, actually in real estate. He was doing some different, I believe, some wholesale deals and also like some creative finance deals back in the 80s, like when I was a baby.
Okay.
And he had gotten like bought a Rolls Royce. He had like several different houses and was living like a big baller, right? And
Yep.
he ended up getting really sick, and he ended up losing everything because basically he wasn't able to work. He was over leveraged, and it was just a very unfortunate situation. He almost died, but he ended up recovering from that and went on to live for until I was 12. So like that when he got really sick and lost everything, I was probably like 2 or 3.
Okay. Was it cancer that he was sick with, or do you mind if I ask?
So he had what was called Ehlers-Danlos, and it's a very rare tissue disorder. And now, past post his death, my mom has told me that it may end up not being that because there's some symptoms he had that were inconsistent with that. But it's basically a rare disorder where his whole youth and up to like his 20s, he's very healthy, normal.
Yep.
He started getting like easily like bruised and stuff, like on his shins. His skin was like thinner, where it was easy for him to get cut, and it like wouldn't recover as good. And basically, it progressively got worse, and he started getting dental problems when he was older. It basically just makes like my understanding is like your tissue and stuff like that just much weaker, and he ended up dying from he had like one of his organs there was a problem with, and he just had like massive internal bleeding, and
Oh no.
they couldn't stop it basically.
Wow. Dang, dude.
But here's the thing: props to my dad. One, for talking my mom into having me. Uh, Two, for even though he was in such a shitty situation, right? I couldn't
Mhm.
imagine, right? Like if I were to lose everything that I've worked for, think I'm gonna die with like young kids. Like that's crazy, right?
Yep.
Crazy situation he was put in, and he still remained positive. He still imparted like like all the most important things to him into me, and now I kind of get to do all the shit that, pardon my French, do all the
All right.
things that he would have wanted to do, and like he can like live through me as well. So I look at everything and frame it in a way that serves my vision, right? If it doesn't serve my vision, I don't choose to look at it that way. So that way I'm constantly going towards my goals and my vision. And it's difficult. I'm not perfect with it, but it's a very intentional practice when I catch myself thinking things that don't serve me, focusing on things that aren't aligned with my vision. I try to just remind myself, snap out of it, and just keep charging forward, basically.
That's awesome. So you've got kids. We haven't touched on that too much yet, but so you've got kids. Did losing your dad early on, and I lost my mom, so I'm very open about talking about loss. I don't know if you are, but
Yeah,
did that inspire you to like spend more time with your kids, or like instill like the kind of values in you that your dad did?
absolutely. Absolutely. And I waited till later in life, you know what I mean, to have kids.
Sure.
I was well into my 30s, and
Okay.
I'm 38 now. But yeah, my two older kids, I've been with them since they were 3 and 5. Love them to death. They're 8 and 11 now, and then
Okay.
my two younger ones are 2 and 3. But absolutely, like when I transitioned into parenthood, I was ready. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I wanted to do it. I love being a dad. I love being just like a nuclear family. Like it's been a huge blessing, right? Because I knew I wasn't ready before. So like if I would have been in the same situation before I was, prepared for it,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like that would have been a tough situation. So I'm glad everything worked out the way that it did.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Kind of go back into like the career thing. Did you go to college?
So I went to a trade school. I went to the Conservatory of Recording Arts and Sciences. That's
Okay.
like a year program, but it wasn't I didn't get like a bachelor's degree or anything. It's just like a certificate. I
Okay.
did a little bit of community college too,
Okay.
but no, not university.
Right on.
I just have a GED.
Word. Yeah, I did college too. And that's like for hopefully one day this will fall into, you know, the younger kids that are coming up after us, um, where I'm pretty sure the school system is still teaching to go to college. And I just want people to know that, you don't have to graduate and get a degree to do something with your life. I believe that if you're going to go into like a specialist program, like being like a doctor or an attorney, sure, and if that's what you want to do, awesome. But you can find a great job or create a great business in sales where you can make a ton of money and you don't have to, you know, go to college and get into all this debt, and you can really create kind of whatever you want. You just have to be willing to work for it. So,
Absolutely. Yeah, you got to, I would say for the younger generation, you have to figure out what your skills are.
mhm,
What do you like doing? And even for a more technical thing like computer programming or, these other skills that are going to be relevant in the future, like a lot of that you can self-educate, especially real estate. Like there's
yeah,
a plethora. So it's not that learning's not important. It's just that the degree itself is not does not have any inherent value. It's the information that you get, unless it's something that like you were mentioning, a doctor, an engineer, something where it's a prerequisite.
yeah,
But even an engineer, like there's a lot of things in a lot of colleges you can get their lectures and stuff for free now
totally.
too.
That's
Um, but yeah, college isn't the default. I think it's another option, but I think for most people, it may not. I think there's a lot more people that go to college than necessarily get the value benefit of the money that they spend.
yeah, I agree with that. I mean, it's not that I didn't. I mean, I did go to college. I went for a little while and went through a semester at ASU, dropped out because I couldn't afford it, went to community colleges for a few years and they wouldn't give me in-state tuition. So I was like, well, I'll take some time off and figure it out and get a job until I can figure out, how to get in-state tuition and go back to ASU. And then I found real estate and I was like, oh, I guess I don't really need to go to college. But it's not.
I guess I'll just be my own boss and make some money on my own terms.
Yeah, I mean, but I've definitely spent probably as much as what a college degree would be on like personal development and self-education and few bad projects will pretty much pay your tuition right there.
Hey, but you made more money than an average college kid.
Yeah, you know, and I don't know. I feel like I've learned a lot more too, um, which has been the cool thing.
Yeah. Experience is the best teacher.
hmm so we're in a similar industry, and you kind of touched on it. But if you know somebody were to be coming into our field and they wanted to get started, but they don't really know where to go to get started, what advice would you have for somebody like that?
I would tell them first to just start researching wholesaling or real estate, whatever it is that they're thinking about. Do some initial research before you just dive into it, just to make sure that it is something that you believe in, you feel you can be successful, it's realistic for you to be doing it. You know what I mean? Like if you're like, hey, I want to start building skyscrapers, and you have no real estate experience, yeah, do a little bit of research, but it may be easier to jump into something else first, right? And wholesaling for most people is a good path because there's a low entry fee, there's a high reward, and the cash on cash return for what you spend, if you use economical marketing means, if you're just pulling lists and cold calling people, like you can pick up some very valuable skills, and you give yourself a chance to get lucky and you can pull a deal out, solve a problem, and make, a 5 figure and even potentially 6 figure payday off of one deal, which is pretty incredible. Bigger projects, is a much longer time frame. Wholesaling, you can have 30 days, make a 5 figure check, which is awesome. There's not very many businesses like that.
Yeah.
That you can take a couple $100 and turn it into 5 figures.
Yeah, no kidding. It's quite the industry.
It's the cheat code. We're living
Yeah,
life on easy mode, bro.
yeah. Although definitely not easy, but
Right.
simple process, not easy to find them. You know, I
For
I
sure.
I love the ads that you'll see, and they're like, oh, all you have to do is find a buyer, find a seller, and you just put the two together and you can make all this money. I'm like, well, what about how do you find that? How do you find that first?
Like football, you just got to run the ball across the field, make it to the other side. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. No resistance. There's no defensive tackles that are going to take your ass down.
But it's
uh,
cool. It is, right, compared to maybe like opening up a restaurant, we could
mhm.
say it is a much more simple business, but the challenges you face will be difficult. But luckily, most of them can be solved over the phone, just with the right knowledge and the right like connections, right?
Yeah,
So, yeah, you're right. I mean, it's not easy, and it's a lot of times it's not simple either. But
yeah,
it's as easy and simple as it gets to be making that type of money. I
yeah.
don't know an easier way. If you hear of one, let me know, bro.
I mean, selling weed or something like that, but that's definitely not a good idea. Definitely not a
Yeah,
good idea.
it's just there's that
The illegal portion right there is,
always over your shoulder, right? Unless, I
yep.
mean, I guess if you get licensed, you can do it legally. Hey, by
Yeah,
all means, but
this is a little
not
more
my
mobile.
thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, and it's kind of like that age-old adage. My mom used to tell me this all the time. It's not what you know, it's who you know. And like, especially getting into this industry, like who you know can definitely help you overcome a lot of hurdles, especially if like you pay a mentor, you just have like a great friend that's, you tether to a bigger boat and you're able to learn from them. You can go so far with just that alone. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I completely agree. And that would be also my advice for anyone, unless I would say almost everyone can benefit from either working for a successful wholesaler, a year or two initially, or hiring a mentor. I would say the only two people that wouldn't benefit from that is someone that already has like a high paying job
Mhm.
that they are like locked into. Like maybe you have a family, you have kids, you have like a job that pays higher than average, right?
Yep.
And you can't necessarily just leave your job and jump fully into wholesaling. Like I wouldn't necessarily recommend that. If you're crazy and you have that risk tolerance, me saying I wouldn't do that isn't going to phase you anyways. If
Yeah.
you have any doubt in your mind, you're probably not that guy. So like you probably don't want to do that. keep your job, right? And then you can be learning wholesale, and then you can even just be paying for, like, to get the basic info to get started, you really can get for free. Like if you go on YouTube and you're sharp as a thumbtack, like you'll be able to see who's for real and who's blowing smoke. But you can even buy just like an entry level course and figure out all the basic stuff, for a couple $100 probably if you look around.
Yep.
And you can start that way in your free time. And maybe if you have more money than time, right? Let's say you're making six figures, but you're in a job that is just not your forever job. You're seeing all this money that these crazy kids are making wholesaling. You're like, hey, maybe I should dip my toe in the water. I mean, you can start getting like, your own ads going. You can get people, VAs and other services generating the leads and doing some of the time consuming, tedious tasks. And you can be setting up appointments for in your free time, on your lunch break, maybe on your weekends. Like you're going to have to burn the candle at both ends for a while to make that transition. But once you have, 5, 6 months of living expenses saved up, and you've surpassed like your full-time job income, or you nail your first big deal and you're ready to go, then at least you'll feel better about making the, jumping into that new vehicle as your full-time thing. Because, even after your first deal, you may not want to leave your 9 to 5. You know what I mean? Because I hate to say it like this, your first deal, you could get lucky and you still could not be ready yet. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And then you jump into it full time and you don't get another deal for 4 or 5 months because you realize, like, you're not doing enough activity. You're not, networking with other people. You're not actively improving your business. You're just trying to do the same thing you did on the first deal. It's not working out. I just hate to see people stressed out needlessly. And again, the people that are badasses that like just will do whatever, they're not even going to listen to me anyways. But like, if you have it in your heart that that sort of thing would keep you up at night and give you like extreme anxiety, like it is something to take into account, because there is a turnaround on these deals of a minimum of like 30 days. And it can be up to 60 days or more if there's like some sort of other issue going on. So
Yep.
just don't put yourself in a position where your family can end up getting wrecked, if things don't work out.
Yep.
Like, if you're not built like that with just like an iron heart. I say for me, because I started out working for someone else and it was I don't regret it 1 minute. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So it ended up being a great thing to help me learn a lot in a short amount of time. And while I was working there, I made more money than I'd made at any previous other job.
That's awesome.
So it was a great experience. And I think for most people working for someone else, if you have that opportunity and they're successful, you will learn so much faster that way because you're already seeing something that's working. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
And
You're not
you're
trying to
learning what you
reinvent the
earn.
wheel, and like you think because you're getting the whole piece of the pie, that it's a better deal working for yourself. But if you're eating an empty plate, or you know what I mean, if you're going, you gotta not discount what you're going to learn working for someone that's already in motion too. That you're going to learn everything that already works, and you're going to learn the most important stuff first. You're not going to be some dork scholar that knows everything about wholesaling. You're going to know how to get deals done because that's what you're going to be doing. So, and you're going to have access to basically learning from people that are in the business that know what they're talking about, because you're going to get a lot of conflicting information when you go and research on YouTube.
Oh
This
yeah.
person is going to say never do this. This person is going to say always do this. There's all these different points of view and they all work, but it's more about how you compile it all together. And if it works, you can't just take pieces of everything and try to mix it all up. Normally, if you can find one process that is very repeatable, and someone that is a successful wholesaler, they normally are going to have that. Like if they're at scale enough where they can hire you on and there's plenty of leads, they probably already have a way that they do things that they can just plug you into, and you can just paint by the numbers. You don't have to like try to invent a whole new way of doing this business. You know what I mean? You can
Yep.
just like plug in and start making money and adding value to the company.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I kind of took the opposite approach, but when mine was when I first started, I went under another agent on a team, and that's how I learned a lot of what I learned in the beginning was cutting my teeth, learning from somebody else. And I don't think I really probably would have been here still if it wasn't for like having a mentor, because I got into it and I was like, dude, I don't want to be a fucking salesperson. Like, what? Salespeople are greasy. And then come to find out, no, it's some salespeople are greasy. But if if you're asking the right questions because you genuinely are trying to find a solution for the person, or you're genuinely trying to help them ask the right questions, and then also providing, knowledge and value to them, sales can be a very noble career to follow. And that translates into anything: solar sales, wholesaling, real estate sales, selling technology, you name it. Granted, I'm not a huge proponent of solar sales, but I don't know enough about it yet to make that determination if it's a good thing or not. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree. And great salespeople are going to love great products and great opportunities. Because if you know how to sell, why wouldn't you pick something that's a high value exchange? You know what I mean?
Yep.
Anyone that we work with that chooses to do business with us is because we have the best value proposition that they've heard. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But yeah, the solar thing, I've heard things about the grants and everything coming up where that's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
And as long as, like, any product or service, if you're good at sales, you may as well pick something that's a high opportunity, low friction, and a win-win. Uh, because yeah, you're going to work hard in sales, whether I'll put it this way. Normally the guy that makes $30,000 in sales is probably actually working harder than the guy that's making a whole bunch. Or I say the guy that's making 80 is probably works harder than the guy that's making 2, 3, 400,000 in sales. Because the guy that's making that big money is probably not, because he's working 10 times as many hours. They're probably both working a lot, but he's just leveraging a better opportunity where there's higher margins and higher potential.
I would 100% agree with that.
So you may as well maximize your opportunity and deal with something that's higher level, because you're going to be working either way. But the thing is too, once you get good at sales, then you can also leverage your skills where you're either building a team, you're working in training and helping other people get to where they want to go. You know what I mean? And you can be just spreading value and helping other people and be like that voice that you wish you had when you were figuring out all that stuff,
Yep.
you like coming up in the game, basically.
Yep. Kind of career, kind of personal. How do you balance your personal and professional life? Because you have a family, like you have got a full-on family. It's not like a lot of people where they just have hobbies. How do you balance that? Or, how do you prioritize each?
So I'm glad you asked that question, right? Because my answer has changed quite a bit in the last few years. So I sacrificed my time for money for a long time, right? I worked long hours when was in my other sales job selling Kirby. We travel for a week or two at a time, stay at crappy hotels, eat out of a gas station and fast food. Like, I lived like not a life of envy, like, for those years. Like, it was hard work. I was really sacrificing on my lifestyle compared to what my ideal vision would be. Wouldn't involve anything that I was doing right there, right?
Yeah.
Much different picture. So from that, I am extremely intentional about how I spend my time. So I have a good idea on, what's important to me. I have a vision and a plan on where I want to go. So my time is really segmented into, in the morning, I'm working out, spending time with my wife. We go to the gym together every day. Throughout the day, like, my diet and everything is another thing that I try to stay on point all the time, because that's something that allows me to operate at a higher level. I feel better when I'm eating the foods that make me feel good. I'm performing better. I look better. It's just like it keeps me dialed in, keeps me excited, energetic. Uh, During the day, normally Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, that's money generating activity time. So we're either talking to sellers, we're putting out fires for deals, we're maybe doing a team, maybe I'm doing a team training or working with one of my mentorship clients.
Yep.
Maybe I'm posting value on social media or put things out, right? But throughout 9 to 5, I try to be very intentional and spend the majority of that time actively working, right? I might take a break here and there. Me and my wife might go for a walk or something downtown, just like get out of the place for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
But I really try to be intentional, because after 5, like, I'm pretty much chilling unless there's something else going on that carried over. You know what I mean? Then it's time with the kids, Maybe we'll go to the park. Maybe we'll go out to eat. Maybe we'll hang out at the house. Maybe we'll, you know what I mean? Like that's like my family time. And then maybe later on in the night, me and my wife might go out and just spend some time with just me and her, right? Go on a date downtown. So there's just like restaurants we can walk to and stuff like that. So it's cool. Like I've really tried to like design the life to my liking. Like I always wanted to live in a high rise. Like when we go on vacation, I'd always try to get the highest floor. I love being able to go out and do all that stuff and have it just be easy, like when we're on vacation. So now I've like tried to design my life at this time where it's like that's my vision. Now, of course, I'll probably get tired of it at some point and have a new vision, right? And try something else out. Maybe I want to live on the beach or whatever. But I've tried to be intentional where I'm spending my time doing the things I like to do with the people I like to do them with. And, you know, I don't really waste time. The only time I watch TV or something like that, if it's with my wife, is like a bonding time and like a quality time thing. Like you will never catch me. I don't watch sports, like not to hate on anybody that does, like for each their own, you know what I mean? So
Yep.
I don't really, entertainment and sports are not a big thing for me. Like I do enjoy music because I think mentally and emotionally it's a good thing, a good release. But I do a lot of I watch a lot of YouTube and informational and relevant stuff to what I'm doing, just trying to expand my mind and become the person that's going to be able to do all the things that I aspire to do, basically.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like that. Designing your life around designing your business around like the lifestyle that you want instead of having your business own you where you can't even spend time with your kids. Because I've seen a lot of people do that, and it's like it's great that you're making all this money in your business, but like, are you happy at home? Like, what does that look like? You know? That could,
Right. And there can be seasons, right, where you do have to sacrifice.
yeah.
If your feet are to the fire, or if you have a new opportunity and there's a short time frame, there are seasons where there isn't that balance, right? I'll
Mhm.
be the first to admit that. There's times I have to work late, I have to do extra things, I have to travel where maybe, you know, it's not like the ideal situation. But as a general rule, you're right. Like having the business serve you rather than you constantly serving the business. And now you're sacrificing the best years of your life. Because if you don't, anyone that doesn't believe that they're in the best years of their life right now, like I just challenge you, you're never going to be this young ever again. You're only going to get older.
Yep.
So like look at your time is not, I'm going to sacrifice everything for a long time for later. I think that if you work smarter and get on higher level skills and really your working time, make sure that you're being super productive, you still can live an interesting and enjoyable life and do a lot of cool stuff along the way.
Heck yeah. I like that. Hey. And these
Yeah, because
people.
no matter how much money you make, you can always work constantly. Like you can be a lawyer making $300 an hour, working 80 hours a week, or you could be making $1,000 an hour working 80 hours a week. No matter how you're making $1 million an hour, at some point you're going to want to spend some of that money and live your life too. So I think it's better to just segment it to a certain portion of time and then start increasing your leverage, higher level opportunities involving more people, um, automation, anything you can do to leverage your expertise and your efforts. Because as technology gets better, as long as you have the thing figured out, your actual physical work and physical presence are going to become less and less important. It's going to be the people that figure out like algorithms and formulas to get stuff done. I think that are going to rise up. And I think a lot of people, unfortunately, are going to be in a hard position if they don't learn some different skills because automation is going to replace a lot of different careers. Unfortunately, it's going to render, a lot of things is going to be a big reduction of the need for like humans for things that we would think may not be automatable, but technology can change that like fairly quickly.
Yeah, and it's already started. That's one of like one of the scary things about um, artificial intelligence. I was listening to a podcast. It's like kind of mind blowing of where this all could potentially be going. I'm like, whoa, looking at my life, and I'm like, okay, how do I get ahead of that and make sure that I'm not left behind with anybody? Um, kind of continuing on that, what is some of your hobbies or interests outside of work? I know you mentioned going to the park with the kids, going for a walk with your wife, going out some evenings on dates. What else?
Love that. I love to travel and see new things. I love the beach, the city, the mountains. I like to snowboard. I enjoy music, live music, comedy shows.
Heck yeah.
Um, yeah, and honestly, meeting and talking to and hanging out with interesting people and my friends and networking and learning from other people and big on self development too. Always trying to anything I can pick up that's that's going to help me become the person that I'm going to need to be to achieve my goals. Like I'm all for it. So I love that energy exchange with good people and yeah, getting tattoos too. You know,
Off-roading
I guess
too. You like off-roading? I know that.
off roading. Yeah, taking my Jeep out. Yeah, shooting. You know, once in a while.
Heck yeah.
So
The reason I bring up the off-roading thing for the people that don't know, Rich has had some fun with his Jeep, um, putting it into a big puddle a couple times. That
yeah, I
was,
had the puddle. I tipped it over too. That was another
oops.
one.
Hey,
That was the more expensive error,
oops.
but yeah, you live and you learn. You got to push the limits to see where the line is, you know? So,
Yeah, facts. Heck yeah. Um, I wanted to hear about this because I know you talk about a lot about like your weight loss journey the last few years. Also, um, you know, we've talked about this a couple times over the phone, how, when you were first getting into this, you were kind of struggling to get your footing, and then you started catching some traction, and you had to go through a lot of stuff to kind of go from first getting into the business into, now you have a team. Now you're joint venturing with some of your students, teaching other people how to do novations and wholesale, and also improve their sales skills. Um, so, you know, why don't we kind of unpack that a little bit?
so like unpack my journey of like getting into wholesale to like what I'm doing now.
Well, yeah, I mean, because you overcame some challenges when you were going through that, and that's going to be important for some people that are not only just like our industry and like real estate, but also people are going to have to overcome things in their life and keep pushing through even when things are really tough. So, um, wherever you want to go with that, I know I kind of threw a lot at you there.
Sure, sure. So for people starting out, so even if you're working for a successful wholesaler, even if let's say it's the ideal situation, right? Everything's going great, plenty of marketing, plenty of training, everything you need to be successful, right? And I can tell you this, that's probably not going to be the situation. But if that is the ideal situation and you walk into the perfect situation, you're still going to deal with massive adversity just because the sellers are going to do unpredictable things. There's always going to be different challenges and problems to solve.
Mhm.
So I would definitely, whether you're by yourself or working with a team, I would align yourself with people that are getting the results that you desire and figure out how you can add value to what they're doing. So if you're working for the company, automatically you're adding value. If you're dealing with other people, maybe you can do some sort of work for them, or maybe you're queuing up the leads for them, listening to them, how they close. They can teach you along the way. You're, splitting the deal. You're doing some work that maybe you can do the initial leg work and you can do some of the other work and kind of learn along the way. So I would figure out a way to leverage an experienced person and make a win-win scenario out of it, whether it's JVing, whether it's working for someone else full time, maybe working for someone else part time virtually. That's going to be the key to your having because even if you're super smart and you can figure all this stuff out, you're still way better off dealing with someone that's already doing it because you're going to run across so much conflicting information. And just because something sounds good, like on YouTube, doesn't necessarily mean it's the best way to do things. Like the best way isn't always the way that you would, is intuitively sounds great. Like sometimes they're just like random things that just happen to work. and you'll see it by just getting the result. You'll be like, wow, I can't believe that works. Like, well, it does, so do it. That's a good thing when you're working with someone and they're your guide. It's also a filter for conflicting information where you can just copy success, just like McDonald's, right? One reason McDonald's is so successful is there's a high consistency in the way that they do every process.
Right.
If you go to McDonald's at one place, they're going to do things the same way for 99% of things as another store. So I think it's good because there's already so many variables for you to walk into a blueprint where now you have a repeatable process you can get better at rather than running around like a chicken with your head cut off. I'm trying it this way, this day. I'm trying it this other way tomorrow. Ooh, this one worked. I'm going to start doing it like this. Oh, it's not working anymore. I'm going to do it this way. And you're not doing any one way consistently enough to get good at it. And you're getting the shiny object syndrome, and you're going to have a much higher learning curve. I can tell you this, if you do have money, right, to where you could go into like some sort of mentorship or training if you wanted to, right? Or you could just start marketing on your own. Take it for what it's worth. You will spend more money on mistakes of trial and error in this business. This can be an expensive business. You will spend more money on mistakes than you will spend paying someone to help you. Guarantee you. And you may still lose money on mistakes and things that are beyond your control. But if you're considering going in on your own and you have the money to start everything up, I would highly recommend researching a bunch of different mentorships and education stuff. Figure out which one seems like the best fit for you. Get as much information as you can on it. And then I would say work with that person, because no matter what they're charging, it's going to be cheaper than learning things the hard way and missed opportunities. Don't forget that. When you pay someone to help you, they have a moral obligation to get you results. You know what I mean? So if you pick the right person, they're gonna make sure that you get deals and make it worth your while. They don't want their reputation being besmirched if they just took your money and you're not you know what I mean? You're not getting any results. Like, obviously any ethical person is gonna make sure that it pays off for you. So
Sure.
figure out a shortcut.
So what was the Rich Wonder story learning those lessons? Because that's great advice. How did you learn that? Like, what was that journey like for you the last few years? Because you didn't fall to the top of the mountain, and we're still climbing. What was the Rich Wonder story there?
So I studied a ton on YouTube before I even got into the business, right? It was probably a good 6, 7 months that when I was driving around going to appointments and my other job, I was just researching wholesale stuff. And to Sean Terry's credit, he had a ton of free content that was actually very specific information that was useful information. It wasn't just fluff. Like, I learned so much on YouTube for free. And that was one thing that attracted me to want to work with them, because I resonated with the sales process. I already had a sales background. So I learned, all the initial stuff on YouTube. And then once I started working with him, I did get access to his information products too, his different courses, and I got to learn that way as well. So like, basically and I got to, ask him questions in the meetings and stuff like that. And I was working with other people that had done deals before. So a lot of my initial questions, I had immediate access to trusted information, right? That's important. So it helped, and they were doing significant marketing. So I was getting access to, to a flow of leads to also shorten my learning curve. So those 2 years of working with him, I probably had more leads and more like access and deals than like a lot of people if they're doing everything themselves and starting their first 2 years. Some people, it can take them a year to get their first deal. You know what I mean? And even people that are really good at sales, you know what I mean? If you're not doing enough volume, or if you're missing a piece of the puzzle that you don't know about, and there's something wrong with your process and you're not getting any results, like, it can be very frustrating where you can work for a long time and not get the results. So I was thankful that I did choose that path, because that helped compress my learning curve and allowed me to like really get a lot of experience in a short amount of time.
Okay. Nice. So you worked with Sean Terry, and then did you try it on your own like right after that, or what was the next step
I
after
did. Yeah. So after me and him parted ways, I had a little bit of money. I just had a big month there, did like 360K in revenue. And I think my cut of it was like around like 40, I want to say like 46, 48,000. Um, and that was the most money I ever had, like at one time. So took that, moved into a bigger place with my family, got furniture for everything, went on vacations. I was started running a PPC website, and I was getting leads in and everything like that. I was going through that whole process. I had a couple deals that closed, but the honest truth is I really took my foot off the gas, and I definitely worked much harder for the company than I worked for myself, right? The whole time I was working with Sean, or the vast majority of it, I was running and gunning. Like I was hungry. I wanted to impress everybody there. I wanted to be the top dog. I had this fire in my belly. And then after I like got what I thought was like, this crazy check, you know what I mean? The most money I'd ever touched at that point, then I kind of just like lessened my intensity, and then my savings just slowly went down. I was getting deals coming in, but I was also getting more expensive taste, and you know what I mean. We were like doing. I don't regret it, right? Because the memories that we made and the experiences I had have gotten me to think bigger, and I think it's also opened up my eyes on what's possible. Of like the things that I used to think were like crazy and are just like normal things.
that?
So it brought me to think, and the same thing happened with Kirby, right? I'll put it like this. So they used to have like these trips you could win, like when I was in my other sales job. It's like 3 times a year, and it would be nice places. It'd be Hawaii. You go there for a week. If you're like the top gunner, you get like 2 weeks there. If you hit like this other bonus, and they put us up in actual nice hotels and actually have like a kind of a VIP experience. And that was the one of the things that kept people in Kirby, because you're staying in the dirtbag motels when you're actually selling the things. So you get to taste that lifestyle, and they give you cocktail parties, and we dress up, and they have award ceremonies. You know what I mean? And you get to feel what that feels like to be living this life that a lot of people never get to experience. Like I'd never been to Hawaii before I won the trip from Kirby. And even if I had the money, I probably never would have went. You know what I mean? Back then, just because I wouldn't know how to put it all together. I wouldn't, you know what I mean? Like, so I think it is good to experience things like that, to get you like to see what your ultimate vision is. But yeah, I didn't make a good decision by spending all my money and not working as hard, right? And once I got down where I only had like maybe like 4, 5, 6 months left of expenses, then I decided, hey, maybe I'm better off going back and working for someone that's already marketing, already doing their thing. I can just focus on one aspect of the business, and I can do that until I get back on my feet. Or maybe I'll help someone grow their company, and I won't be the owner, but I can be maybe like, hey, the head of the sales, or be running a major department, and just build up that company and have some sort of equity,
Sure.
right? So that basically not starting a company from scratch, but maybe contributing and earning my way into like a partnership.
Yeah.
And that's when I ended up linking up through Brandon Simmons with Corey Geary. And he was doing Novations and PPC. That's where I learned the paperwork and all that, and kind of developed my own sales process for it. But that ended up being a huge blessing too, because without that connection and that experience, and without Corey, I wouldn't have learned about Novations the way that I did.
Okay.
So, oh, and that was my Netflix just shut off, but it was like
That's right.
the perfect time. Yeah, punctuated.
Um, okay. Yeah, and I think there's a lesson there because, we have to keep that fire in our belly to keep going. I know it's good to like get comfort and also like experience those those big experiences, but I mean, I've been guilty of it too myself, where I start living a little higher above my means than I should be at that time. I haven't built a strong enough foundation yet. And then I start going backwards and I'm like, oh shoot. And then I put my back against the wall again. I'm like, okay, I got to keep moving forward. So finding that healthy balance where your back isn't against the wall 100%, but you're you're still hungry. You're still hungry
Right.
forward, and finding that happy medium, because I think everyone that they don't come from a whole lot, once they start like experiencing that, they'll do that for a little while until they learn, hey, I am I'm still building right now, and I need to stay hungry and stay on course for my vision instead of trying to have my vision now. My vision is I'm still living my vision. I'm still working towards it, and having joy in the moment while you're going through it, but also knowing that, hey, there's so much more. I have so much more to learn,
Right.
so much more to do. And so it's and we're both, it sounds like, kind of people that we have to learn by our own mistakes, where somebody can tell us that. And probably a lot of the people that are going to listen to this, they can we can tell them all that we want. We can lead a horse to water, but we can't make them drink. And so hopefully somebody will take that advice to heart. Hey, Emma. And sorry, hotel life with dogs, man, this is crazy. um and take that lesson and learn from us who have done it, and continue to stay hungry as they go. And then maybe instead of balling out for a little bit, they say, hey, actually, instead of me balling, I'm going to put this into an investment that's going to pay me in the future, so that when I am ready and I am in my vision, then I'm there and I'm ready for it. But you also have to experience those things on your own sometimes. And so you went from Kirby to learning about wholesaling to Sean Terry, and then ready to try your own thing. And that didn't work out as well as you had planned, because you kind of took your foot off the gas, went and worked with Corey, and then you're obviously not there anymore. So what was that like, going back out on your own again?
So I've been out on my own now for about roughly a year and a half,
Okay.
and it's been amazing. I love the way my everything is set up right now. When I parted ways with Corey, um, from his mastermind that he ran about Novations, my calls were featured on there. So like the mastermind clients, like had heard my calls and everything, and like my style and my pitch and all that. And when I left there and they found out about that, I started having people contact me and asking, like, hey, I have leads, do you want to do some JVs? I had people eventually start reaching out for team training. And that kind of went into the first um, Rainmaker acquisitions training, which was like a compilation of these Zoom calls that I did like over 5 weeks. And then eventually I filmed professionally the Rainmaker 2.0, updated it, and along the way I've been working with strategic partners that we do multiple deals a month with, and then I also am JVing deals. Now I'm up to like 5-10 deals on any given month that get sent to me on Instagram that we end up working together. And I mean, a lot more than that maybe aren't a fit, or maybe there's certain ones I don't have time to get to. It's a longer timeline, but it's very fortunate where my ad spend is like literally zero right now. It's all just strategic partnerships and JV deals.
Cool. That's awesome. Um, Kind of shifting gears here now, and going into this. So what do you define success as?
I would define success as being in alignment with your vision.
I like that. What are some of the habits or routines that you do that you believe have contributed to your success of getting there and being in alignment with your vision?
Yeah. Diet and exercise is number one. Living intentionally, being intentional about how I spend my time, being intentional about how I speak to people, trying to be to continue just being in alignment with the person that I'm becoming. And I mean, I do a lot of things by routine. There is some spontaneity in my life, right? But like all the most important things are very routine. Like my workouts, my diet, like how I spend my days are very similar because I basically optimized that to the thing that works best for me right now. And then if I have the way that I like to do it, I just do it that way repeatedly because then it takes mental bandwidth out of that that part of my life and I can use it for more creative things, right? Okay, like what's down the line, education wise, team training wise, new product ventures, like new opportunities. I can save the space for that because like all the most important things, like my business, my workout, my fitness, my family stuff, that's all blocked out. And that's like low. I'm not spending a lot of energy like doing non-productive things with that. So I try to just open up bandwidth for my free time where I can be thinking of like high level things that are going to be long-term beneficial and thinking bigger, getting rid of limiting beliefs, chasing bigger opportunities, taking on more complicated problems, providing more value, increasing capacity, like anything that can help me do that, scale, broader reach. Like I'm trying to say yes to everything that's in alignment with where I'm trying to go. And like my overall arching goal is to live a exciting and interesting life and deliver maximum value and impact the world in a positive way from my family to hopefully one day tons of complete strangers and people that I may never even get the chance to meet. Like if I can make a huge impact in a positive way, like I love that. I will consider that like a life well lived.
Sounds like that might also be like your why or your purpose. That was my next thing, and I want to ask you. So that's cool. And
Yeah, just help my family thrive, get my kids on their way to live in their vision and do their ultimate purpose, and just try to encourage everybody to live the best life possible and deliver value to the world. Whatever your talent is, God gave you some sort of talent and some sort of special gift that's unique to each person. And if the closer you can get to that, then you can ultimately be your most successful self because you're in alignment with the way that you are built optimally to deliver value to the world. You know what I mean? We're all meant to do like a certain thing. And if you can find out that thing, you're the best person at that.
true. So you kind of also touched on it there. Sounds like you have had faith in your life, you're a Christian or, maybe of another faith. How has that played into the success that you've had this far?
So I think ultimately having a belief in God and a creator for me personally is the only logical conclusion to come to, knowing that here I am, there's something rather than nothing, and there's a bunch of things that are beyond me. So it's only logical to say, hey, look, I believe that there is a creator. Now, religiously, I respect everybody's beliefs, everybody's choices. I think that's like a nuanced conversation, right?
Yep.
Me personally, I do not have any religious affiliation, on the record. Like,
Sure.
I respect everybody's beliefs. And for me, like the thing that works for me is direct communication, which is prayer and meditation. Like
Okay.
that's what feels the most authentic to me, where I feel like in touch with my creator and in touch with higher power. Like I think some of the best ideas you can get, I'm not trying to get woo woo, but I'm dead serious
Oh,
about
woo woo.
this.
So yeah, go ahead.
I think both in music, any sort of creative endeavors, and even in business, the very best things are literally like sent to you, and you're not even, you think that you're this creative genius. You're not. Like it was a message or a transfer of energy or information that's like that you just received, and you're like the vessel. You know what I mean? And anyone that's like plays music on a high level, right? If you've ever created like a beautiful piece of music, there's many times where it feels like the music's flowing through you. You're not intentionally creating it, it's like happening and you're like a part of it. And I think there's a lot of things in life, brilliant ideas, inventions, where there's things that, look at Nikolai Tesla,
Mhm.
bro. It's just people on different levels of like the communication being receptive to it. And there's certain people that they're just designed for certain things. And you know what I mean? But I feel like if you're in touch with a higher power, one, it's a thought that serves you, whether it's true or not. Whether it's true or not, even if there is no God, but you live your life as if there is one, right? That cares about you, that wants you to be your best, that is going to send you useful informations and intuitions and creative ideas. If you hold that thought in your mind, even if it's completely false, it's still a thought that serves you. And believing that there's nothing, this is just my opinion. Again, like, look, if you don't believe in God, I respect that. But this is just my conclusion. If you don't believe in that, that's not a thought that serves you in any way. And if you're wrong about that, it is a potentially harmful thing.
Yeah.
But the fact that there is something rather than nothing, we have feelings, you can look at someone's eyes and you see this thing in there that's beyond just flesh and blood. There's an energy that's inhabiting this meat suit. There, then, you know, just like, hey, what were you doing before you were born? I don't know. What happens after you pass away? I can't say for certain, but we're here right now. We're here today. We're not in medieval times dying of the bubonic plague. We have opportunity. So I don't hold myself up too long on questions that don't serve my vision, because you can spend this whole life worried about what's beyond and you may not have a conclusive answer that you couldn't get just from looking within. So that's my take on it, on religion and everything. But yeah, I have respect for all religions.
I do too. You know, I some of them I may not understand. I personally, I am a Christian. I'm just of a non-denominational faith. I don't affiliate to like Catholicism or Lutheranism or anything like that. I just believe, you know, that it's important to have a relationship with our God, and for that, my God, I believe, is the one that wrote the Bible. But I believe everybody is entitled to their own faith, and you know, I'm not one to push my thoughts down other people's, you know, throats. It's just that's my belief, and you know, that's what I'm sticking to. So
Nice.
I got a couple quick questions for you, and then
Yeah,
we can wrap up here. If you couldn't work in real estate, what else would you do for work?
I would sell some high level service, opportunity, business, product. It would be something in sales and communication.
Cool.
Uh, Either that or doctor.
Hell
No,
yeah.
I'm just kidding.
What's your favorite book?
Hmm. Favorite book. So Never Split the Difference,
Great book.
and also Think and Grow Rich.
Love it. Who do you look up to?
Alec Lebec. And I'll tell you what, there's a lot of people that I look up to. Uh, there's there's many people I hold in high regard. Man, where do I start? I'll start locally. Tino Luna, Sergio, Jason, Sharktino, um, man, Munif, Ryan Zolan, Tyson Smith. I mean, look, I look up to everybody that is, you know, working hard, making a positive impact, trying to uplift other people. Um, you know, I try to find something admirable too in everybody. I think everybody has something that's just amazing about them. And I really try to see the best in everybody that I come across, especially the sellers. I think that's one reason why too it's easy for me to build rapport for them, is I find reasons to genuinely like them. You know what I mean? And genuinely be concerned, put myself in their shoes, not judge them, be empathetic. And basically, like, part of like my kind of belief in God and the fact that we're, you know, spirits trapped in or, you know, using bodies as a vehicle. I look at everybody as being not different from me, as we're all just a different iteration of this energy. And then that will help you see and connect with them, because they will see that familiarity in your eyes and hear it in your voice if it's over the phone. and you'll treat them accordingly to how you would want to be treated. Like a lot of problems in this world are created um, by people thinking that we are so inherently different, like racism, all this different crazy things that people think that are so different. We're all humans, and even beyond that, like we're all just like sentient beings. Like I don't know. I think seeing people and trying to see the good in people and realizing we're more connected and more alike than we are different, that we just have different perspectives and different genetics and different experiences that have shaped our viewpoints and our models of this world. But just realize, like, hey, look, we're all in a learning process, and don't judge other people, and also realize like everything you may believe right now, the future you, that's the person you really want to be, is probably going to think back to the things you think now. A lot of it's probably some BS, because otherwise you'd already have everything you want if you already had everything together. If you had all the answers, then your dream would already be realized. So be humble about certain things, because none of us know it all, and whoever thinks they're the biggest boss and baller, there's always someone higher up that your brag that you think is so like you're just stunning on the whole world. Someone else is looking at you like that's something you brag about. Like that's nothing. Who cares? Like, you
Yep.
know what I mean? So just be humble about stuff and help people up on your way up.
I like that. Well, if the listeners wanted to connect with you and learn more about you, where can they follow you or find you or connect with you?
So I post tons of free content, value content. I don't do a lot of dancing on my page or anything. It's mostly like seller calls, explanations of different, real estate, wholesale, novation things. It's Instagram at Novation King. So my Instagram is my main platform right now. I do have a TikTok at Novation King. I'm just getting started. Help me. I've got like 50 views on there. But it's at Novation King. I'm posting more short form content there. YouTube, I just started a channel too. I'm going to start posting more content there because I think that's a really good platform to
Yep.
share value. I think people look for more long form stuff on there. So that's definitely something I'm going to be getting into this year. And novationking.com, you can get my Rainmaker 2.0 course. It'll teach you everything you need to know about acquisitions, closing novation deals, paperwork, real seller calls, private Facebook group. You can have live team training, Zoom calls, whole 9 yards. You can check all that out. And that's where I'm at. I'm on the internet. I'm in the satellites bouncing around.
Heck yeah. Awesome, man. Well, yeah, I can attest to the Rainmaker course. I went through it, and the sales content in there is great. The scripts in there are great. So if you guys want to learn more about how to get into novations, which is basically, like he said in the beginning, wholesaling deals on the MLS to retail buyers that can get traditional financing instead of just looking for cash deals. He talks all about how to have the conversation with the seller and figure out what the best solution is for them. Because ultimately, I think having multiple tools in your tool belt is a great way to go about acquisitions. So, dude, thank you for coming on, and we'll be in touch very soon. Looking forward to this one.
Thank you, brother. Always a pleasure, man. Thank you, dog.
Likewise. Cool, man. Well, hey, have a great weekend, and I will talk to you very soon.
Okay. Yeah, you as well, man. Thanks.
Thanks. Bye.
All right. Bye bye.